We had no idea just how bad it was.
We thought we were aware.
Yeah, about the ocean but
no,
not at all.
If you love cruising, then you have got to look at the data and listen to the experts and do whatever you can to, you think globally, but you act locally.
Yeah, nice to have you here. Thanks for coming, really.
Pleasure, absolutely.
Bem-vindo a bordo do veleiro Wanderlust. Eu chamo João e viajo neste planeta desde há 15 anos atrás. E viajo no meu Beneteau Cicladas desde 2020. De Espanha, Cabo Verde, as Caraíbas, Panamá e agora, sim, finalmente na Polinésia Francesa. Neste episódio eu quero falar-te de microplásticos e da poluição dos nossos oceanos. A situação está bem pior do que se pensa. Um dia eu estava ancorado na cidade do Panamá e havia tanta poluição na água naquele ancorador que eu nem podia ligar o motor do barco de borracha para ir até ao cais. Então, sem outra opção, fui a remar e no caminho encontrei um simpático casal de neozelandeses que, como eu, também estavam indignados com aquela situação. Falámos de microplásticos desde os nossos barcos, assim meio a gritar e à distância, e eles contaram-me que inclusivamente tinham feito uma pesquisa para medir a quantidade de poluição no Atlântico. Os resultados foram negativamente surpreendentes. Foi inevitável convidá-los para uma entrevista. Como a língua oficial da Nova Zelândia é o inglês, esta entrevista foi conduzida em inglês. Assim que te peço que atives as legendas.
But I would start to, ask you, and correct me if I'm wrong, but you have been cruising 5 years.
A little longer, but in this boat 5 years.
In this boat 5 years.
Yep. So we started the cruising life back in 2010, I suppose, and did that for too short a time. We took a year out of work and cruised in the Pacific on a previous boat.
Dolce Vita?
Dolce Vita,
Yes.
yeah. And then eventually we had to return to work. We wanted to cruise in the Mediterranean and we wanted to sail a boat back to New Zealand. So we ended up buying Sunflower in the Mediterranean.
And regarding the crossing of the Atlantic, you already
We set a record.
You set the record?
Yeah, we were the slowest boat ever. 31 days.
But I think there was a reason for it.
No wind apart from 2 days.
And you also took the chance, and I'll also ask you about this, to take some samples of the water, right?
Well,
where you could see microplastics. Could you also tell me a bit about it?
So that was possibly, of the years that we've been away, that has been our most interesting, rewarding and scary part of the whole journey in terms of what we found. And what we learnt from people who were running the project that we were involved on.
Which project is it?
It was the GOES Foundation project, GOES. And if you have anything that spare half hour in your time and the rest of your life, make sure that you go to the GOES Foundation webpage and have a look at the information that's up on that. So the GOES Foundation is an organisation that was set up and run by Howard and Diane.
They're both Scottish, right?
Yes.
And Howard is he's got a PhD in marine biology. He is a world-renowned marine biologist. He spoke at the big conference that was held in Scotland for the climate change.
Last year.
Yeah. That was last year. He wanted to find out what the situation was with the microplastics, etc., in the Atlantic Ocean. The word by all the experts was there would be nothing that you would find. That it was not going to be an issue like it would be in more sheltered waters, etc., etc. And that is exactly not what was found. Believe me, the Atlantic Ocean is full of microplastics to a frightening degree.
They did realise that, they all thought that yes, there's big plastic that's floating around in rafts and things, but they said no, there won't be any of the
micro stuff. And there's an awful lot of it. And so what we were doing, us and 18 other boats that were travelling across at the same time, were doing low speed sampling. So some sampling had been done by larger ships, etc., but they do not travel along at 3 or 4 knots and take samples from the top of the ocean at the speed that we had to. So what made it particularly relevant was the fact that none of us were going to be, travelling at 18 or 20 knots, etc. Now, I'm not an expert, but I don't have to be an expert in electricity to know how to turn on a light. You leave that for, So we did some research into the Ghost Foundation and became convinced that these people were experts in their field, and there was nothing fly-by-night by this. So the boats that were involved were all given a kit, a testing kit, microscopes, etc., which we connected to the computers that we had. We took samples twice a day, evening and daytime samples, expecting to find plankton in reasonable numbers, and looking to see if we were going to be finding plastics.
What did you see?
We found plastics and we didn't find plankton.
Oh.
That is the scary thing.
Oh yeah.
Not much plankton, not in the proportions that you would be expecting to see in anything approaching a healthy ocean.
And you were like across the Atlantic, in the middle, or
from one side of the Atlantic, we sampled every day, like all the other boats did, twice a day, from there to the Caribbean.
And similar outlook, similar results, or was
along the African
vector?
Not far out from Africa, probably we found more plastics, and these black particles, like which nobody was too sure of
what it was.
But the thinking now is that they could be things like the exhaust from large ships going into the ocean.
Carbon, something like that.
Yes, and also perhaps one of the big pollutants in the oceans is car tires. Like the rubber from the roads, it goes somewhere. It doesn't sit there forever. It will find its way into drains, and drains will find its way to rivers, and rivers will find its way into the ocean. A lot of that sort of stuff. But what we did not find was the life that you were expecting to find, and there's a pretty good reason for that. What we learnt as part of that project and subsequently, that since the full industrialization of Earth's economies, since about the 1950s and 60s and onwards, the effects of plastics and of course the burning of fossil fuels has had a dramatic effect on marine life, to the extent that over the past 70 years, 60 years, there is half the amount of marine life that there was prior to that. Now this is not controversial. There's nobody says, "Oh no, you're wrong. That's ridiculous." This is fact. And the frightening thing is, it's not just local to areas. People think, "Oh, this place has been overfished," or whatever. And the really scary thing is the acidification of the oceans. The normal on the scale of acid to alkaline, normally it's about 8.4. That's where the healthy ocean. Say in the 1950s, before pollution became as bad.
How much is it?
8.4.
8.4. So a bit acidic. No, a bit alkaline. A bit alkaline. Just a bit alkaline.
Since that, there's been a dramatic decrease.
So more acid.
It's coming more and more acid. Now the thing about the acidification of the oceans is, and please, once again, I'm not an expert, but once again, you listen to experts who tell you things. They're the ones who go to school forever and learn this sort of stuff. The effect of that slight decrease or slight increase in acidification is that it impacts on carbon-based life forms. Now, the majority of life forms on this planet are carbon-based. The majority of life forms in the ocean are carbon-based. Plankton, not all of it is carbon-based. There's some, believe it or not, to my surprise, metal-based, strontium-based life forms down there as well. There's silicon-based as well. But the life forms that provide so much of our oxygen, etc., are carbon based, and they've been destroyed, you know, and they've been destroyed very quickly, and this is getting worse and worse and worse year on year. Now when we get to one crucial tipping point, which is not far away, which is about 7.8, something around about there, you know, if you look it up, they'll tell you the exact figures, which is not far away, then no matter what you do, it won't make any difference. There's no turning back.
It's not reversed.
It's not reversible. Things will be dead. Now we're seeing the deaths already of coral. People think it's just heat. It's more than that. You know, this acidification is having a huge effect. Coral there's not 50% of the coral left in the world that there was 50 years ago. Now you tell that to some Australians, because there's a thing called the Great Barrier Reef. That's dying hugely, and getting worse all the time. Imagine what's going to happen to the east coast of Australia when that shelter is gone.
Yeah.
Also, the coral provides the nutrients, provides the basic foods for a food chain that goes on forever. You know, and if you don't have those lower levels working well, your whales are gone, your dolphins are gone.
The whole chain is
disrupted.
messed up. Yeah.
It's a very, very delicate
Sensitive.
balance, and it's only been small changes that have made huge differences. But they're like an avalanche coming down the hill. It's building speed. It's building speed. It's not just slow. You know, like the train is coming. You can see it, but it's accelerating, and something has to be done. Yeah.
And yeah, I mean, Phil and Ellen, such a powerful insight you provided here. And as you said, I mean, you say you're not an expert.
No.
But you not only you do not need to be, but I mean, you have so much in local and actual real information that
We've seen it.
That you've seen it.
Yeah.
Just for itself, it speaks. It speaks for itself what you've seen and what
It
you're
doesn't
telling.
speak. It screams.
It screams.
We had no idea just how bad it was.
We thought we were aware,
Yeah, about the ocean, but
but
not at all. So Howard and Diane are amazing people, very knowledgeable.
Yeah.
And I would say to anyone, look them up and see what you can do, or just learn more about it.
And there are things that you can do.
Like what?
Well, for example, sunscreens. There are countries now that have banned sunscreens.
Okay.
Hawaii, Palau, because the sunscreens are different to sunblocks. Okay, but there are chemicals in those sunscreens which are so toxic, and it doesn't dilute down. They're toxic forever. You know, and Howard stresses this: solve pollution. It used to be you solve pollution by diluting pollution, but you don't. Not with this sort of stuff. The PCBs, the DDTs, those sorts of things, they are cumulative and they stay forever. And some of the chemicals that are in the sunscreens, not all sunscreens, because there's been a lot of work done now to try and do something about it. If you put sunscreen on yourself, to me this was mind-blowing. Go swimming, it all washes off. Now, on the average person who's put enough sunscreen on themselves to make themselves safe from the sun, you have now put enough chemicals into the ocean that would, if it was in a swimming pool, 2 Olympic-sized swimming pools, you would kill every bit of marine life that was in those swimming pools with the amount of toxins that you've just put into the water. And I couldn't believe it.
That's powerful for you.
Yeah, it is absolutely powerful. But there are other screens, other blocks that you can use instead, and you can start insisting that these sorts of things are used. You know, zinc-based, for example, which operate differently to sunscreens. You can lobby your local parliamentarian type people, all those sorts of things. You know, if you do nothing,
or raise awareness.
Yep.
That's
just
a powerful thing as well.
What you can do financially, you know, money talks louder than anything else. Like if you refuse to buy products that are unsafe, and you can find lists of these sorts of products, and there'll be no easy solution. But what it all comes down to is will. Do you want it to happen bad enough? Are you scared of what the implications are enough to do something about it now? Because the problem has been my generation, I think, have got a lot to answer for. This is my opinion. Not everybody thinks the same way, but we've allowed this to happen. Not only have we allowed this to happen, we've encouraged it because we have become obsessed with what's the next big thing to buy. You know, I need a new car, I need a new this, I need a new that. I have to get my T-shirt $5 cheaper, and I'll get that $5 cheaper when it's manufactured at some country that historically have not.
And there's another thing. I mean, we were speaking about the water, and actually when I met you, Phil and Ellen, we were all anchored in Panama City.
Oh,
And actually in a day where the tides, as the tides get low and high, the trash that gets trapped on the rocks gets pulled into the sea, or
And we could not see the sea in some places because it was just floating rubbish.
and we were both
Rowing out because we couldn't start the motor.
we could not even start the motor, and then I mean we exchanged some words about pollution, and I realized that you really had this strong sensitivity, right?
Yeah, well, it was just.
And you even mentioned me this thing with the microplastics, and after that I kept in mind I should talk with you deeper. You know, let's talk more.
Well, these little microplastics are ingested by the small
food chain.
animals. They're eaten.
The whole food chain.
Yeah,
Yeah.
which is killing them. you
with
know.
all the chemicals in them.
And it's the chemicals that are in them too.
But I would ask you if you have any final message for cruisers or for whoever you want to send some final message for the interview.
For me, the message I would give cruisers: if you love the sea, if you love cruising, if you really do, bone deep, not skin deep, bone deep, then you have got to look at the data and listen to the experts and do whatever you can do. You know, you think globally, but you act locally. You know, you can't change the world, but you can change your part of the world. And if you can talk to the right people, put your money in your mouth where your heart is, to make some change to the way that we are viewing the use and misuse of the oceans that we have, then do that. You know, that would be the message. If you love the sea, if you want to fish and you want your grandchildren to fish, but now it's not just your grandchildren, it's your children. It's that close. Then you have to act now, and there are things that you can do. And go to that website. And I'm not preaching. I'm just
Goes Foundation.
Goes Foundation. GOES.
I'll list it on the interview.
Yeah.
Have a look at it.
On the
It's
footer.
sensible stuff. It's not proselytizing. It's not people preaching stuff. It's not people's opinions. People these days, they think, you know, the I reckon. Everyone's got an iPad. And they have an I reckon that's not going to be that important.
That's
I reckon
science.
I know somebody.
We're talking about science.
We're talking about science. Yeah,
It's not opinion.
yeah. Have a look at it and make your decisions about how you act based on those things. That's
Yeah.
what
Yep.
I would say.
Exactly. We are one like that.
We are one.
And there's no crisis for us, but there is a big crisis for the whole world.
Yeah,
Right.
yeah,
Yeah.
exactly.
Também és bem-vindo a candidatar-te à minha próxima viagem, Polynesian Adventure. Para te candidatares, basta enviar um mail para sailing.winterlust@gmail.com. No próximo episódio quero mostrar-te os melhores lugares para visitares aqui nas Ilhas Marquesas, da Polinésia Francesa. Subscreve o canal, ativa as notificações, também deixa o like neste vídeo e no próximo também, assim como o teu comentário, é sempre de valor.